And I'm not going to read the actual words of institution today. I'm going to read those later as we come to the table. That's what happened to pages. I want to read verses 7 to 13, chapter 22, Luke, and that's page 1048 if you're using the Blue Bible, at the very top left-hand corner. Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. So Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and prepare the Passover for us, that we may eat it." And they said to him, Where will you have us to prepare it?" And he said to them, "Behold, when you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house as he enters, and tell the master of the house, 'The teacher says to you, where's the guest room, that I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you a large upper room furnished, prepared there." And they went and found it just as he had told them, and they prepared the Passover. Now, a lot of you know that one of my favorite portions to read about the Lord's Supper is Luke, particularly because Jesus says, "With a passion, I passionately desire to eat this meal with you." And the longing of Christ for fellowship with his saints just blows me away. But this is also kind of amazing what we just read, isn't it? Last minute, maybe there was a certain maleness of Jesus after all. Last minute he says, "Well, you got to go prepare the Passover." Do you know, in the average Jewish home, the Passover is something you work up to for weeks. Planning, thinking of who's going to be invited. There's standard things on the menu, so that doesn't take planning, it takes doing. But there are actually some few other things that come and go depending on the table involved. There's the purchase of the wine, and there's the baking of the bread. And it's not something you want to be told as a wife in a Jewish home to start thinking about in the early afternoon before the day of. It's like having your husband come to you and say, "I've decided we're going to do Thanksgiving here instead of where we said we were going to go. Why don't you whip something up?" "Yeah, I'll whip something up." You. But that's what Jesus does. He says, "I want you to prepare." And they ask a legitimate question. We talked about this downstairs. There are legitimate questions you could ask the Lord. And the question was, where? Because Jesus himself said, the birds have their nests and the foxes have their holes, but the Son of Man doesn't have a place to put his head, let alone a large upper room to have Passover in. And Jesus' response is just marvelous. It's kind of like, "Well, I got that covered." You go into the city and you follow a guy who's carrying water. Miracle number one. Men in that society didn't carry the water. Women did. So he's going to stand out like a sore thumb, you see. And you go up to him and you tell him, "Where's the room? Because the master wants to have Passover at your house." Can you imagine somebody came to your front door on Christmas and said, "Where's your dining room? We're going to have dinner." But God had prepared a mind and a heart and so forth of a man who knew who the master was. And so what did he do? He didn't argue, he didn't discuss, he took him upstairs and said, "There it is." Now the third miracle is it got done. How did these men who had always left in all of their lives in preparation of the Passover dinner get dinner on that night? I'm suspecting those women that aren't always highlighted and follow them around and covered their bases were the next stop on that list. We've got the room, we just need you to put the meal together. And one of them was a wealthy woman from town, so she may have had enough from her own table to just, you don't know how it happened, but in the power of God and at his command, it happened. And so they sat down at that table that night that Jesus so much wanted to come to, and the fellowship he so much wanted to share with them, and the ordinance he wanted to impart to keep them strong as a church throughout all the hundreds of years to come. All because God knows how to prepare. This is a table prepared. This is a table prepared. Oh, Rick and I prepared it this morning. Finding the plastic cups, and pouring them, and putting the bread and the pots out there and all that. Yeah, but no, that's not what I'm talking about. This table was prepared in the heart and mind of God from the foundation of the world. When God knew He was going to sacrifice His Son and give Him an offering in our place, God knew that He was going to leave His church, His ordinance. Right? So basic. Bread, staple of life. And the cup of a great basic drink in a society that couldn't trust the water. And there it is. Food and drink. And that's what Jesus is for us. He said, you got to eat of me, you got to drink unto eternal life. And so we come here to remember that He's done all this, not haphazardly, not last minute, but He prepared it all in advance so that we could today be here and enjoy it. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? What a God. What a God we serve. I often wondered about, on the farm field. I know how they get bread for this. Whatever the starch staple, and it's amazing, every culture has a starch staple that's usually used for the bread. But there are many cultures that have never seen a grape. And there was one culture that I read about recently where they would take the water that they had and they would color it with red toothpaste. So people who want to remember the Lord will find a way because He's worth remembering. And you can be thankful that it's grape juice in your cups and not red colored water with toothpaste. Anyone is free to say to me at any time around you too disrespectful, but I think God is more laid back than we give Him credit for. So if I made anyone uncomfortable, you have my apology. Because I know this is special and this is holy. But it's holy of God. It's not by anything I do. And I just would prefer to rejoice in the God we serve and His ability to reach out from time to all people everywhere to share the same experience of the knowledge of Christ and salvation in Him. Amen?
Amen.